What's up, everybody, and welcome back. JJ Buckets, you already know. What are we doing? That's right. We are talking basketball.
We know it's going to be a hostile crowd with CB jumping into the frame.
So for today's video, it's going to be the second installment of JJ's Mailbag. I asked that for the last time. You guys liked the video if you were really enjoying it and you want to see more of these episodes, and you got a fair amount of likes compared to the usual, so I was like, hey, what the hell? Let's make a second installment of this. So if you don't know, JJ's Mailbag is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. I ask you folks to send in the questions and the topics, and then I answer them on the channel on these videos. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. So the first one here comes from, welcome back, It's Okay, I'm Russian, or as he likes to be called, Anton. His question is going to be, do the refs, well, he wrote reps, but he means refs. Do the refs have too much power? And then he gave an example of a situation where he thought they did. I don't necessarily think it's the fact that the refs have too much power. I think you want your referees to have a good control over the game. But I will say that I do think the refs are kind of soft. I don't remember exactly where I saw this, but I remember that I was reading an article where they said that this is like the biggest percentage of new referees that we've had in the NBA in a while, or just like younger referees. So like there's a bit of a change going on in terms of like the old guard is moving out and the new guard is moving in. And I think that new guard, I don't want to just straight up label them soft, but like there have been so many plays that I could think of off the top of my head in terms of like ejections where I just kind of sat there and I was like, what, really? You're tossing the player for that? So in that sense, I don't necessarily think that they have too much power, but I do think some of these newer and like younger referees are maybe a little, well, new to this, and they need to get a little bit tougher skin, if you ask me. Fabian wants me to talk about the Raptors' playoff hopes. I think this is a pretty easy one. I think they're a playoff team, and I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit here for two reasons. Number one was when I did that video way back of like the main takeaways from early on the Raptors season. I believe it was 10 games in when they had that bad start. I did, still lay the claim that this core was good enough to be a playoff team by all means, and they've shown that. They've done a great job bouncing back from a tough start, and they've really done a good job kind of getting this identity as a really good offensive team, as well as kind of getting a bit of their identity back in terms of defensively. I think they've improved on that end. They've also been better at closing games, which is another thing I originally criticized. So to the Raptors' credit, they've done a fantastic job bouncing back. And the one thing that has really, maybe not the one thing, but like one of the main things that has really stuck out to me, and once again, tooting my own horn here, but Norman Powell's been a starter. Norman Powell in the starting lineup has really helped elevate the Raptors. And it's honestly for a lot of the reasons that I kind of mentioned in that Norman Powell video that I put out, where Norman Powell, the starter, just does a great job bouncing off the extra playmaking that he's around in terms of Fred, in terms of Kyle when he's playing, in terms of even Pascal Siakam, as I've mentioned. And defensively, Norman, the starting lineup, he has so much more energy, and it's so fun to watch. And yes, to bring this all back, the Raptors are absolutely a playoff team this year. I think they're not an elite playoff team by any means. I don't expect them to really do anything getting into the playoffs, but like they are a playoff team should they want to be there. Dan asks, if the Raptors make a move, is it going to be for a core piece or is it going to be for a rental? And again, I think this is a fairly easy one. I absolutely think it would be for a core piece. I think obviously the most obvious thing that I'm immediately going to allude to is the Kyle Lowry trade talks are just really heating up, and it seems for the most part that I do think this is either going to be a situation where Kyle Lowry, if he doesn't stay in Toronto past the deadline, that he's either going to be in Philly or he's going to be in Miami. And I think both of those make sense. Obviously, he's from Philly. The connection is there, so that one makes a lot of sense. And for the Heat, I think he just is a perfect fit into the Heat culture there. So like either of those trade destinations work. I think Philly's probably the more obvious one, and in that sense, I think they're going to be looking for young players like potentially Matisse Thybulle. I think they're going to be looking at guys like Tyrese Maxey, and I think both of these guys are players that, I mean, obviously aren't rentals. They're potential core pieces for the Raptors. So in that sense, absolutely, if the Raptors make a trade here this season, I do think it'll be for a core piece and with foresight towards the future rather than a rental that'll help them this season. Ali wants to know, does a juicy ass help you in the NBA? Yes, it does. And just because he asked two really good questions, this next one is also going to come from It's Okay, I'm Russian, and he asked me about my current feelings on MJ's Hornets. And I think this is a pretty easy one for me. They're a really fun young team to watch. In particular, like, I've really enjoyed watching LaMelo's rookie season. I think he has tremendous just instincts for the basketball court, and honestly, if you're comparing him side by side to Lonzo, like, he has way better instincts than his brother. I think he has a good chance to be the best ball brother if he's already, if he's not already the best ball brother. You can debate that one. I'm not going to, but there's a comment section, so by all means. But on top of that, like, Terry Rozier has also seemingly come along a decent way, and like, he's been looking really good this season. They're a fun young team to watch. I don't necessarily think they're maybe a playoff team this year, although, I mean, the East is really up in the air. So like, they very well could be, but I think they have a good future ahead of them. That's for sure. And to piggyback off that last one, Yona here wants me to talk about who the Rookie of the Year is. I think, to me, like, nothing has changed since the last installment of this, where I kind of said LaMelo is the favorite. I still think LaMelo is the favorite to bag Rookie of the Year. I think there's still a couple of names out there that could really give him a push here. Tyrese Halliburton, I think, has a chance to give him a push. Quickly, maybe could be a dark horse candidate and like really take this by the end of the year. But at the moment, like, it is LaMelo Ball's Rookie of the Year to lose. I think that's abundantly clear. And now for the last one, and my personal favorites. Luke wants me to discuss realistic versus dream scenarios for 2021 free agency for the Raptors. I think I'm going to start with the realism here. In terms of realistic situations, I think the Raptors are going to be looking to add a good player to this core, and I think it'll be a name like maybe Andre Drummond if they, want a big to really shore that up and get away from the small ball that they've been playing. But the small ball has been working for them for the most part, and if they like Pascal Siakam enough at that center spot that they're willing to kind of continue with that, John Collins is a name that really should be thought about in restricted free agency. If they can pry him away from Atlanta and give him a contract that the Hawks aren't willing to match, I think that's a really interesting name potentially for the Raptors. And speaking of restricted free agency, I'm going to mention one more name in there that maybe isn't as obvious, but I personally kind of like. It's Lonzo Ball. Why I like Lonzo Ball, and I know like immediate reactions are going to be like, oh, well, why do we need another guard? Why do we need another point guard? Like, especially considering some of the things I've said in terms of, Freddie getting the opportunity to slide back to the point guard position. Why Lonzo Ball? Well, I like Lonzo Ball a lot because defensively, he gives you a lot of size, versatility. I think he's a fantastic defender, and I think on that end, he can easily go guard twos, like, more naturally than maybe a Fred VanVleet or a Kyle Lowry. So I think you clean up a lot of issues there defensively in terms of being undersized, especially even on the defensive glass. Like, Lonzo Ball is a good rebounder, so it'd be a really nice lift on that end. And offensively, I think his passing could be such a tremendous addition to this team, and his driving kick game, beside guys like Fred VanVleet, beside guys like OG Anunoby, beside guys like Norman Powell, however you want to do this, however you want to imagine it, even with Siakam as well, like, I think this is a scenario that could actually be really fun for the Raptors. I think I just definitely gave away who I personally would want, the Raptors to pursue in free agency this season, but it is what it is. Now for the dream scenario, I think this one is obvious to any Raptors fan out there, but let's do it anyways. The Clippers flame out again. They suck. They get bounced in the second round, and Kawhi's just like, man, LA's not worth it. Toronto treated me well. decides to pack his bags and come back to the Raptors. So there you have it, folks. That does it for the second installment of JJ's Mailbag. If you like the content, like I said, drop some likes below. It helps me understand that this is something that you folks want to watch, and I honestly have such a fun time making these videos, so by all means, I'm more than happy to keep this series going as long as people are enjoying watching it, so do the good stuff. Comment if you disagree with any of these takes. I'm sure I've said a lot that can be disagreed with, so there's a comment section for a reason, and we can talk it out there. Other than that, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way to helping this channel grow and just be more seen, be more discoverable, and like, that's the dream, isn't it? For me, at least. Other than that, I believe I'm done here for the day, and I will see you all next time.